everyone, welcome back to Ketchup Court. I go by name of Heinz, your friendly neighbor, Ketchup Man, and we are right back here for the Afroman trial, whose co-government name is George Foreman, I believe his other name is. But yeah, the Afroman trial really caught our attention back in March. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow the case at the time because I was in the hospital. So it was very hard for me to follow because I was at the same time recovering from psychosis. And I was kicking myself because this defamation is where my old journey basically started. And my whole YouTube journey, I should preface saying, yeah, that's basically how it started. I was watching Dev v. Heard one day. That was a defamation case. I went into a complete rabbit hole, learning so many things about defamation law, case law of defamation, and I started covering other defamation cases like the Ari Jacob versus Taylor Lorenz defamation case. And yeah, and that really got me immersed in this. So when I saw this trial happening, I was kicking myself. But nonetheless, we are here. I believe that we're now on day two of the trial, going into day 3. This is the last witness who is gonna come on. It goes by the name of Michael Robinson. He is the last plaintiff witness. Because Afroman, as some of you may know, he has been hit with a defamation case against him for making a song about the raid that happened to him sometime back in, I can't remember the year off the top of my head, but it was sometime back in 2012 or maybe around that time period. And because of the making of those songs, not 2012, don't hold me to that, I really don't know, I really don't know exact when, but essentially because he has made those songs, the police force that's in Ohio thought it was a great idea to bring a defamation case, which from what I've seen so far, because I haven't watched this trial, like I said, from what I've seen so far, it has been a complete farce of a case, if I'm being honest. It's just cops really angry that these things were said about them, which is fair. You are allowed to get angry. You are allowed to have your own opinion, the same way that Afroman is allowed to have its own opinion, and you don't have to like his opinion, but that doesn't mean you bring a defamation case against him where he stands to be losing how much, like up to the amount of $1 million in libel. And and when I look at what has been presented so far, I'm really waiting for the damage, because at least from what I understand of defamation, you're looking at things such as libel statements like you murdered somebody. Like, let's say if Afroman said that these police force were responsible for Kennedy's killing, for example, then yeah, I could see how that could be libelous. If he had said something like the head of the force was gang raping, raping innocent children at the schools, I can see how that's libelous. Like, there are so many distinctions to defamation that I was just listening for, and it's just not here. On top of that, we also have the judge who is just prosecuting the case himself and just making life hard for everybody involved. So anyway, I don't want to go on too much because I've been complaining about that for the past 2 episodes. Now, let's just continue on and let's get into the testimonies that are in store for today. So this is like I said, this is the last witness for the plaintiffs, and then Afroman is going to take center stage, and I cannot wait for that because I want to hear what he has to say pertaining to all of this. Regardless, let's get on with it.
The lunch break helped you. We did our housekeeping. while you were getting assembled back there, so I think we're ready to go with the afternoon. We're still on the plaintiff's case, so Mr. Klingler's got another witness ready to go, right?
Right.
Where'd he go? There you are. Okay. Who's that?
Judge, the plaintiff's called Michael Robinson.
Your Honor, for the record, the defense would renew its objection contained in the motion when file stamped March 16th. That was certified that day.
Thank you for filing the motion in limine. Move we overrule the objection, and then that preserves the original. Very good. Go ahead.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? As this, you shall answer unto God.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Klingler.
Thank you, Judge. Would you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Certainly. My name is Mike Robinson. I'm a deputy sheriff at the Claremont County Sheriff's Office and been employed there for 35 years next month.
And can you tell us your current position and responsibilities with the Claremont County Sheriff's Office?
Sure. I'm assigned under the investigative section with the Claremont County Sheriff's Office. I'm an evidence technician. I'm a certified evidence technician through the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory. I am a certified
Your Honor, I'm going to object. He's testifying to stuff that was not contained in the report that was provided to us, nor anything about his background was provided. This is improper to ask this at this point. It was not disclosed.
Klingler.
His name and his purpose here were certainly disclosed. I'm simply giving background information so the jury knows who's talking to them. He can certainly be cross-examined by Mr. Osborne if Mr. Osborne finds anything that he wants to question him about, but
Is there a written report?
there is.
Was that provided?
It was.
It was provided upon request. It's contained in my motion and limited email response to it and everything, noting the dates and times. There is no CV attached to it. He is asking stuff that would paint this gentleman as an expert. Expert requires at least 28 days notice prior to trial. It was never disclosed 28 days before, so it does not meet that. Asking him his training and everything, which we were not disclosed of, puts us at a disadvantage because we had no ability to research it, and we would object to that or paint him as an expert when it has not been followed per the rules.
He's going to be testifying as a fact
This is
witness,
the first
Judge,
one.
as to the investigation he conducted into the alleged missing cash in this case.
So the amended witness list is March 11. I don't remember the date of the first witness list. So as a fact witness, that's how I took him also. So his qualifications are relevant. I understand the objection when I overrule it. And you can go ahead.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Continue,
Someone with
please.
no
And
objection.
your title is detective. Is that how we should refer to you? Or
Yes.
Detective Robinson, you were talking about your certifications, I believe.
Yes, I'm a certified evidence technician through the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory. I'm a certified CVSA examiner, it's computer voice stress analysis for the last 25 years. I'm also a certified Part 107 drone pilot through the FAA, where I head up our Claremont County Sheriff's Office drone unit and flight missions, operations. I'm also...
Your Honor, I'm going to object again. What does the drone training have to do with this? Was there a drone flown? It was not in the report.
There you go.
It has to do with who he is, Judge.
Yeah. It's not right on point, but it doesn't hurt.
I'm also, I've been certified Cellbrite examiner, which is the conducting forensic cell phone data extractions. I also serve as a backup coroner investigator with the Claremont County Sheriff's Office, or a coroner's office.
Thank you, Detective Robinson. Did you have occasion to conduct an investigation into an alleged missing amount of cash at the Adams County Sheriff's Department, the evidence room in particular?
Yes.
And just tell us how you became involved in an investigation into that.
I was contacted by our administration, who was contacted by what I believe to be the former sheriff, Adams County Sheriff Kimmy Rogers, to conduct an investigation involving the alleged missing money.
And can you explain to us what your investigation consisted of? What did you do?
Well, I met with Sheriff Kimmy Rogers, and I wanted to conduct an audit, actually, of the property evidence room that consisted of monies that would be brought in or had been brought in by deputies, detectives, agents, and so forth. So we were given, when I say we, my partner and I, were given full access to that, where we counted monies that were brought in from other investigations and so forth.
And is it fair to say that your investigation really focused on an alleged cash discrepancy from a search warrant that had been executed not too long before your investigation?
That's correct.
And can you tell us any more about that investigation? For example, does the name Brian Newland ring a bell to you?
Yes. We were forwarded video footage, body cam footage, of the search warrant that was conducted, and I focused attention to the body cam footage that involved the money count. And when I say money count, there were actually two money counts. There was, from the body cam video footage, there was money that was collected from one room of the home, and there was other monies that were collected from another, what appeared to be another room of the home. So you had a money count in this room that totaled a certain amount, and then you had a money count in another room that totaled a certain amount.
And do you remember what the alleged discrepancy was? Maybe not in terms of numbers right now, we'll get to that, but just in general, what was the problem? There was something, an amount was recorded that didn't actually comport with the amount of money that was there. Is that?
That's correct. So what was reported altogether was $400 missing, alleged to be missing. $390 from the first money count, from the one room money count, and $10 from another money count from the other room. So that totaled to $400.
All right. And did you review, you mentioned you reviewed some body cam. Do you know whose body cam footage that was?
That was Detective Newland's body cam.
Okay. And you reviewed that body cam?
I did.
And were you able to come to any conclusions after your review of that body cam?
So the body cam footage that I reviewed in the one room that was counted as $4,390, I reviewed that body cam footage, and it was clear to me that there was a miscount of $390.
And can you explain to us what it was about the body cam footage that led you to that conclusion?
Well, it's just also not the video footage. It also includes audio. So video and audio together assisted me to determine this, but it's clearly on video. Do you want me to explain?
Please do, yeah.
So what Detective Newland does in counting this money was, you can see as he starts, he lays two $100 bills on the ground. You can clearly see that. And as he's counting the money, you can see it in body cam video, such as I'll demonstrate as I'm talking. And you can hear him count. With $200 on the ground, you can hear him count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then he shuffles the money. And then when he lays down on the $200, he lays a single $100 bill down, and now he's counting 7, 8, 9, 10. So what he's counting as $1,000 is clearly that he only has $600 in the pile. And as he continue on with the body cam video footage, he makes piles of 100, and there's several piles of 100, hence over $4,000. But as he's collecting the money from the piles that he made, he collects. You can clearly see on body cam where he's collecting as $100. It actually contains $110. Now you can clearly see this on body cam video where there's a $50 bill underneath 320s. He picks that up and he collects it as 100, but it's clearly 110. He had a pile over to, in the video footage, you see it on his left side. He's got a pile over there and he counted of $90. So he has 3 piles of 100s now in front of him. He picks that up and he picks up what he collected as $90 and he calls it $390. So he writes down on a piece of paper $4,390, when in fact the $390 doesn't really exist.
And your review of the body cam convinced you that that was the source of the discrepancy between the $4,000 that was actually in the bag and the $4,390 that was written on the bag?
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned a second pile of
Why
money,
you brought this guy in,
or a second
circumventing the rules,
bunch of money that was
to not
collected
have
from
him, because I'm as an
from
expert
another
for
floor
this.
or another room. Can you tell us about your investigation into that alleged discrepancy?
Yes. So in watching that body footage, now this is the monies, I guess, that were uncovered in another room of the home. I could not make a determination like I could on the other count. It just didn't provide me a clear. It was counted as $641 was what was written on the packaging material that was used, and counted as 641. When in essence, I believe when it was returned to the homeowner, I believe $631 was actually in the bag, a $10 discrepancy. I couldn't account for that on body video or the audio displayed, so I couldn't come to a conclusion to that amount.
So you, for this $10 discrepancy between 631 and 641, you were not able to determine one way or the other
That's correct.
what happened to that money.
That's correct.
On the $390 discrepancy, you were able to conclude what happened?
Absolutely.
And did you draw any conclusions at all about the $10 discrepancy, even though you couldn't see anything on video?
Yeah, I didn't conduct an interview with Detective Nolan. I didn't find it necessary, but I couldn't come to a conclusion of the 10. And I don't think it would be so far forward for me to conclude that might have been a miscount. But again, I couldn't come to that conclusion. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. And did you know Detective Newland before you started this investigation?
No.
Now you do.
Did you know anybody or have any relationship with anybody who was involved in this, in the cash that you were counting and investigating?
No.
Did you issue a report as a result of your investigation?
I did.
And is that report part of, kept in the public record as part of your normal duties as a detective?
Yes.
Could we have, what exhibit is that, Natalie?
31.
Thank you.
So why did the judge overrule the objection then? I don't get that. Why would you overrule the attention? He's speaking as an expert.
Okay, we're showing you exhibit 31, Detective Robinson, and it looks like, first of all, do you, from this little snippet we're looking at here from the first page, do you recognize this as part of the report you issued?
I do.
And it looks like the report date is December 8th of 2022. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then can you go to the second page of the report, please? And then the third page of the report. And do you recognize this, Detective, as the beginning of your narrative report of your investigation and the results contained in it?
Yes.
And we don't need to take time right now to review everything, but down at the last sentence of the second paragraph, you wrote, "The monies returned did not equal to what was indicated that had been originally removed from the home." Did I read that correctly?
You read it correctly.
And that's referring to this cash discrepancy that you just talked about.
Correct.
And then let's go down a little bit further, and there in your report, there's some numbers there on the left, 1 through 7, with various numbers. What are those and why are those there? Just give us a little snippet of what you're
Sure.
doing.
I mentioned that I wanted to conduct an audit of the monies coming in that were brought in to the sheriff's office by deputies, detectives, agents, what have you, from scenes, to see if there's a pattern or an issue. There were nearly 70 items, 60-something items that we counted. We actually broke open the packages, examined what was on the packaging, the amount, and then physically counted the money in each package. In almost those nearly 70 packages, we did find 7 discrepancies in those money counts by various deputies, detectives, agents, whoever brought those in. I don't have that list, but of those 7 discrepancies, 3 contained monies that were less than what was indicated on the package, with the highest amount being $5. 4 of those discrepancies, 4 of the 7, actually contained more money that was in the packaging that was listed on the packaging, and that highest amount being $2.40. And a lot of this involved some coin change, if you will.
Okay. And Detective, what did you conclude as a result, if anything, as a result of this investigation into the whole evidence room here at Adams County?
You know, this didn't cause any red flags to us that that there was a huge issue or anything. That this is a common mistake of counting money and coin. It really didn't send us a red flag.
And
It's easy to say that, but like, let's be real though. Like,
then let's
based
turn
on
to the...
Afroman's claim
No, hang on,
about
I'm
money
sorry.
missing,
Yeah,
this
while
just
we're
may
still at
just
this page
aiding
at the
it,
very
because
bottom,
it doesn't matter about the amount
this is
that's missing.
simply,
It's just he believes some money was missing.
think,
You're basically saying that there's
reciting
discrepancies
what
that
you
could
just
speak to that.
testified to. Can you just read that for us, starting with while counting out? Can you see your computer monitor, or is it?
Can you see it on this one?
Is that easier or
Actually, that's
not?
better.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Well,
You need
Feel
to-
free. Yeah, no. We can blow it up a little too.
that's fine. While counting out 100 bills, 2 $100 bills was placed down on the ground and counted aloud by Detective Noland as being 2. The counting continues, 3, 4, 5, 6. Though you don't have a clear view of these bills being counted, the audio suggests that he has counted to the number 6. There is a pause and then it goes on. What seemingly is the arranging of monies in hand while the 2 $100 bills remain on the floor. Next you hear 7, and a $100 bill is placed atop of the other 2 on the floor. This is followed by 8, 9, and 10. This completes the pile the detective has established and collects it as $1,000, when it appears that he actually has $600. The video audio continues, and after counting out piles of money totaling $100 each, he begins collecting these piles, making a pile of 1,000. He makes 4 piles that appear to be totaling $4,000. With 4 piles remaining, 3 piles were collected and totaled as $300, and the third pile collects as $100. It is clear that it contains $110. This is what I was testifying earlier. A $50 bill and three $20 bills. The fourth pile he adds with the other three and states on audio $390 and records on a piece of paper $4,390. Though he records $4,390, the video audio suggests to me that he actually has $4,000. I believe this accounts for the alleged missing $390 associated with item number 1.
All right, thank you. And then you also describe your conclusion with the second bag, and I don't know that we need to read that. The jury will have it back in the jury room if they want to, but essentially you weren't able to account for the $10 from the second bag, is that right?
Yeah, in reviewing that video footage and watching and listening, I couldn't make a determination to that amount.
All right. And do you know, was this amount of $4,390 on the first bag, was that written on the bag or somewhere in relation to the bag?
He writes it on a piece of paper. I don't recall if it was written on the bag.
And he puts it in the bag then, is that your
I
understanding?
believe that's what was done,
All
yes.
right. And the video shows that?
Yes.
Detective Robinson, was your report available to the public if anyone asked for it?
I would believe it would be, yes.
Do you know if Mr. Foreman here or anyone else associated with him ever asked for a copy of your report?
I wouldn't know that.
All right.
I don't know that.
Okay. Those are all of my questions. Thank you very much.
We have this cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, let's see how he discredits this expert witness. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, it absolutely helps. This witness actually, in my opinion anyway, it seems to help Mr. Foreman's case a lot more than this case because he
So
has been
Detective,
claiming that money has been missing.
Robinson, you did an investigation at the request of the Adams County Sheriff at that time, correct?
Correct.
And you actually went farther than he asked for. You actually went and did a complete audit of all 66 money bags in evidence.
I wouldn't say that was farther. It was part of the investigation.
So he asked for you to audit.
That was my idea.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at there. And out of those 66 exhibits, did you attach to your report a itemization of them?
Correct.
Okay. And each one you say the amount stated and the amount counted and whether it matched or not?
Correct.
You also indicate if the bag was sealed or not?
I did not indicate that, but they were all sealed when we examined them.
Okay.
By the way, if you're hearing beeping sounds right now, that's my background. That's outside. Apologies for that.
Oh.
There's,
Oh, okay. So I'm putting, this is a further amount of exhibit 31 of the plaintiff. And so this would be the spreadsheet that you attached to your report?
yeah, and actually, yeah, that's correct. And it obviously states that there were some found what we indicated to be open.
And that would be unsealed?
Yes,
So when it says open on here, it means unsealed?
that's what we put in there, yeah.
Interesting.
Did you note whether
$2
each
missing.
evidence bag actually had like the number of denominations, like 7 $5 bills, 10 $10 bills? Did
No.
you note that?
No.
Okay. Did you get a chance to observe the packaging that the original money was in that was returned to Mr. Foreman?
I believe so. I don't recall what that looked like, but I believe we had that ability, yes.
So you don't remember if there was the bills written on it, so many fives, so many tens and such?
I don't.
But if you had noted that, that would be in your report?
Not necessarily.
Why not?
I'm concerned with the total amount, really not, I wasn't concerned by denominations, but I don't recall if that was on the packaging or not.
But you would agree if you put the number of denominations of each series of bill that was in there on the front of the bag, you could determine whether you miscounted or not just by doing multiplication.
I'm not sure. Perhaps, maybe.
You're not sure you can do multiplication, or you're not sure that you can count up that?
Well, again, I don't know if those denominations were listed on the bag or not. I just know what the video clearly shows me.
So so let's ask that question. There was 8 hours of body cam footage. How much body cam footage did you watch?
I watched all of the body cam footage, but focused my attention on the money count.
You watched all 8 hours.
I watched, well, I didn't count how long it was, but I reviewed I had the entire body cam footage. I reviewed the body cam footage, but I focused my attention on the money count. Now, if it was 8 hours, I couldn't say.
Okay.
Did
So,
not watch
but you
8
never put in
hours,
your
don't
report
lie.
anything about the money being left unattended or anything like that you saw on the body cam?
It wasn't my concern if the money was left unattended because, again, after reviewing the body cam footage and the count, and it was listed as $4,390. That's what was listed on the bag when the homeowner came to collect his money, and I believe to be $4,000 in that bag, and $4,000 was returned.
Okay. So there was a number here in your report. You talk about,
You should definitely worry about when it was left unattended. If you have one part of the bag that had been open and is
do you
$2
recall
were
what the
missing,
total amount that was listed on the bag one was?
$2
You said it was,
discrepancy.
how much?
I don't know if it was listed on the bag or not. I know that he was writing down in the body cam footage on a piece of paper, and I couldn't tell what the number was, but I could hear what he was writing because he was saying it as he was writing it, $4,390.
Okay. So he wrote $4,390 on a piece of paper with the bills,
Yes.
and that was put in an evidence bag.
To my recollection, yes.
And so your investigation, it's off by $390.
That's a lot of money.
On that money count.
On
On
the
the money
first
count. Item 1, yeah.
Okay. And then the second count is off by how much?
It was written as $641 or listed as $641, and I believe the money that was returned was $631 when they counted it. So $10.
Okay. But you can't determine today what happened with that.
That 10, no, sir, I can't.
But you do make an allegation in your report what happened to it, correct?
I indicated in my report that confirming the miscount of monies of $390, it would not be so far to believe that it was a miscount of that money, but again, I couldn't come to any conclusion of what happened to that $10.
So when you said in your report, therefore, due to the history of proven miscount of money with item 1, it would not be so far as to believe a miscount of money occurred in item number 2?
Correct, that's what I wrote.
But you never put anything in here after that that said that you could not determine that and that was just your guess?
Well, I certainly couldn't determine it, but I didn't. That's not written in my report as word for word what you indicated.
Well, if your report's open to the public, shouldn't it be accurate?
It is accurate.
You're saying today, though, that you can't determine, but you said here in your report that you can determine. So explain to me what's accurate about that.
I indicate that it wouldn't be so far to believe that it was a possible miscount of the $10.
But it doesn't go on farther in that same paragraph after that to say that you could not determine.
No, it doesn't say that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So that's
Okay.
not, this is not accurate
But
to your
that's,
testimony.
but that's exact, I mean, that's the fact. I cannot determine.
And so that should be in the report here.
I believe by reading that, you can believe that it cannot be determined.
That's how you read it.
That's how I read it.
Okay.
Public, how do they read it?
And you went and interviewed Mr. Foreman, correct?
I didn't interview Mr. Foreman.
Who did you interview in relation to this?
I didn't interview anybody in this situation.
Not even Dee Russo, the evidence technician?
Yeah, she was with us when we did the audit.
So you interviewed her?
It wasn't an interview,
Well, what was it then?
just indicating of what, providing what we needed as far as the audit concerned and the money count, and she was with us when the money was being counted.
So not to be mean to Dee, but so she was what, just fetching and carrying the evidence for you?
Well, she's in charge of the evidence property room, and that's how we made contact with her.
But you didn't sit there and ask her what she saw when she counted the money when it was returned to Mr. Foreman?
I didn't ask her that, no.
Okay. I'd like you to look at the second to last paragraph. I submitted a subpoena for the raw footage from Channel 19. Why would you submit for the footage of a news agency when you could have interviewed one of the people standing in the room there because she was with you the whole time as the evidence technician?
Well, I thought the raw footage may involve some assistance in while counting money, so that footage was in reference to the money being counted or returned to the homeowner.
So that footage is more important than a witness who stood there, who had power over it, whose duty was the responsibility to watch that?
I think video and audio are just as important. Just as in this case where it's clear for item number 1 with a miscount of the 390.
Okay. But your audit showed a discrepancy of over 10% of all of the money and evidence, correct?
I think it was 66 items and 7 discrepancies, the largest one being $5.
So roughly.
So whatever that percentage is,
Okay. So roughly about 10% then.
roughly.
And each one of those was only off by less than $10 either way, correct?
Yes, less than $10, $5 and less, yes.
Okay. So even by your own audit, the second count, which is off by $10, is actually even an anomaly compared to the other 10% that was miscounted.
I'm not sure what you mean by anomaly, or are you saying it's unusual, or?
No, let's not get to unusual yet. So let's go back to your testimony. Okay, so you testified during your audit. You had 3 that indicated less, with the most being indicated missing $5 as a miscount, correct?
That is correct.
You then found 4 that had more money than listed, with a highest being $2.40, correct?
Correct.
So $10 is more than you found in the 10% audit, correct?
Yes.
Who did you send a copy of your report to?
I can't recall if I sent any copies. I may have, I just don't recall.
You sent a copy of Mr. Foreman, though?
I don't recall sending a copy to Mr. Foreman.
Okay.
Do you think that was important to do so in order to, maybe not get the case come out against him? I mean, to not make the statements that he made, that there's some money missing, would have explained so much. Maybe he would have understood and not said what he said about the money missing, resulting in this whole case. Not a bad question. Even a judge is feeling it.
Did you look at the return on the search warrant?
I did not.
But as far as you know, it would have an incorrect amount of money on it due to the miscount?
The search warrant return should have $4,390 as one count and $641 as the other count.
Which adds up to over $5,000.
Yes.
So, okay. If I may have a second, Howard?
Go ahead.
Your Honor, no further questions for this witness at this time.
Redirect.
Detective Robinson, we're going to pull up this report one more time, and let me ask you just a couple questions about it to clarify what happened here. What exhibit is this, Natalie? 31?
Yes.
Looking at exhibit 31 again, the last page of your report, Detective.
Oh, sorry.
We're gonna have to reset it.
Let's fast forward a little bit. It seems like they're having to
I wonder-
Just use the document.
We could,
Thank you.
Plaintiff's Exhibit 31, so I know what it is when I refer.
we're just going to use that, this one page.
Thank you. Flip the switch back.
Mess us up here.
Let's go. Anything is
Minutes, 3 minutes.
Don't say a word.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Perfect. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Flanagan.
Thank you. Okay, Detective Robinson, we have this Exhibit 31 back up on the screen.
I want to see
And,
how he
uh,
explains the $390.
The page we're looking at has a second to the last paragraph there from the bottom. And you wrote, as I'm reading it, as to evidence item number 2 and the alleged missing $10 from the counted and recorded $641, I cannot determine from the body cam footage the amount possibly collected. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
And was that true?
That's true.
That's an accurate representation of your conclusion?
Yes.
While we're on this page, and since Mr. Osborne asked you a question about Channel 19 footage, I want to ask you about the short paragraph right above the one we just looked at, where you wrote, I would like to note that a news article published by WXIX reporter Ken Baker on August 30th, 2022, a week after the execution of the search warrant, the homeowner reported that investigators removed $4,000 from his home. Why was that important for you to include in your report?
I felt that if someone, this money was collected, I believe, if I recall correctly, from some clothing, an article of clothing, maybe in a pocket or something of that sort, that it would be strange to have 4,390 tucked away like that. It would make more sense if you had $4,000 maybe tucked away.
What?
And when I saw this article, I found it of some interest, so I put that in my report.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Read, Rob?
Just a couple questions, Your Honor.
Please.
So Detective Robinson, you found the news article of interest? Is that correct?
Yes.
More interest in interviewing anybody who was there, Brian Newland, Mr. Foreman, or anything?
I didn't find it necessary to interview them.
But you found the news article of interest.
So this news article, though, would have occurred before Mr. Foreman got back his money, correct?
All I recall and what I documented is that it was a week after the search warrant execution.
Do you even know when he got back his money?
Not off the top of my head.
So you don't know if he got it back a week or 10 months later? Is that correct?
Well, he didn't get it back a week later.
So
but
when he
he got
made
it.
that statement,
Yeah,
he
I
did not
can't
have his
recite to
money,
you.
correct?
I'm sorry.
When he made that statement to the news, he did not have his money back, correct?
I don't know that for sure, but I
Mr.
don't believe he
Robinson,
did.
How about, let him finish, it's easy to step on each other. Go ahead, Mr. Osborne.
Mr. Robinson, let's cut the crap on this. You said he didn't have back his money a week after the raid, right?
I don't know when he got the money back. I don't recall the date. I'm assuming that it was a week after the search warrant execution that he did not have his money returned.
So when he made that statement, you would assume he did not know or have his money back from the police department at that time.
Are you saying he didn't know the amount of money, or?
I'm asking you, based on what you just testified to, did he have back his money a week after the raid?
No, I don't believe he did.
Okay. Did you call Ken Baker?
No, I did not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No redirect, Judge.
The part I'm concerned about is the fact that he said that the part that he found strange was the thought that was having 4,300 in his pockets, or that's not how someone will store it. And perfect follow-up, and now Afroman is going on to testify, but perfect follow-up from the lawyer to say, well, why didn't you just interview?
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the
Based on
truth, the
this.
whole truth, and nothing but the truth. As the issue shall answer unto God.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And have a seat.
Here it comes. Okay, I finally get to hear what he thinks about this
Go
matter.
ahead, Mr. Flanagan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Afroman.
For the record, would you give us your name, please?
My name is Joseph Edgar Foreman.
Got his name wrong. It's
You
not
are
George. Why did I say
known
George
under the
Foreman?
stage name as Afroman, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you create music videos and do performances, is
Yes,
that right? How many states of the United States have you performed in, do you think?
All of them.
All 50?
Yes, sir.
And how many countries have you performed in?
I don't remember, but not all of them. But I've been to a few.
B said the UK. Have you been to UK?
How many live performances did you do last year, roughly?
I don't know. Possibly 250. I don't know, but I don't know. It's a lot of days, but I don't know exactly.
And you have a residence here in Adams County, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you're enjoying what you see so far, make sure you
You've
hit the like
been
button.
performing for 20 or 30 years, is that right?
All my life.
All right. And is it fair to say that one of the first big hits you had was But Then I Got High?
Because I got high.
Because I Got High?
Get it right.
And Do you think it's accurate to say that that song has had over 300 million views on YouTube?
Sounds right.
You have a large presence on social media, obviously, correct?
Depends on your definition of large. There's bigger people than me, but I'm all right.
And on Instagram, is it fair to say that you have 247,000 followers?
Yeah, I just got some of them the other day.
You got new ones coming all the time
Yes, not all the time, just here lately.
because the trial's coming up?
Yeah, all the publicity from the officers lawsuing me is running up my numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, you have almost 1 million followers, 983,000. Is that right?
I haven't looked, it was 977 last time I looked.
And on TikTok, you have about 392,000 followers.
I haven't looked at it, but that sounds kind of right.
You know when you post something that a lot of people are going to see it, don't you?
Yes.
When this search happened back in August of 2022, Mr. Foreman, you weren't at home?
No.
You were driving home from Chicago?
Yes.
And you got an alert from a family member that the sheriffs were there searching your home, is that right?
Yes.
And you were able to turn on your phone and watch through your home security system what the deputies were doing for a period of time, weren't you?
Yes.
And is it fair to say you were angry and upset about this search?
I wasn't happy.
And is that why you posted the things we've seen this week, because you weren't happy?
No, I posted it because the sheriff's never supposed to raid my house in the first place. The whole raid was a mistake. All of this is their fault. If they hadn't wrongly raided my house, there would be no lawsuit. I would not know their names. They wouldn't be on my body. They wouldn't be on my home surveillance system. And there would be no songs, nothing. My money would still be intact, nothing. So all of this is their fault.
And because they executed a search warrant on your home, that gave you the right to post the things that we've seen this week on the internet?
Because
Is that
they-
right? Is that right, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, for
Yes.
tearing down my door, not paying for it, not being apologetic, me being a sport, doing something peaceful to raise the money to pay for their damages, me having the right of the freedom of speech as an American to talk to my family, friends, and fans about what the sheriffs did to my home. Yes, I had the right to my freedom of speech. After they left, I had the right to kick the can and to do what I had to do to repair the damage they brought to my house. Yes, I did.
That includes the right to post the videos that you've just been posting up until Friday and beyond, right?
Yes, I have freedom of speech. I'm a rapper. I entertain. I write fiction, comedy. Yes, I mean, I entertain for a living like you practice law for a living. So I have to go to work.
I have to take them to town, sir. I just showed them your arms and put it into me, sir.
The deputies left a warrant return at your house, didn't they?
I think they left something with my ex-wife. I'm not sure.
Well, you saw, as soon as the search was over, as soon as you got home, you saw a document that showed exactly how much cash had been taken from the house, correct?
I know I got paid $5,000 for the show that suit was in. I forgot that money was in that suit. But, I heard, I don't know what piece of paper I heard. I knew they took some money. I just knew they took some money. I knew it was 4,000-ish. I knew they took some money and they seized some money and some some weed and some, I don't know, what else, just minor stuff.
You knew how much money was in that pocket when you came home and saw the warrant return, didn't you?
It was $5,000 from back when I did that show. I remember it was five, but anyway.
So is it your testimony that they actually took $5,000 instead of
No, I just know,
$4,390?
I know when I did that show, it was with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa at Red Rocks in Denver. The balance of that show, for me, they sent in a deposit, but the balance was $5,000. I put the $5,000 in my coat pocket. I got drunk, I got high, and I forgot to get that money, and I hung that suit back up. And that's where they got that money from.
So it was $5,000 they got?
Yes, it was $5,000 that was in my suit when I got paid in Red Rocks. Now, after all of this stuff, you know, whatever, it's I don't really know the complete number. It's 46, it's 430, the number bounces up and down. But all I know is I got paid $5,000 at the Red Rocks with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa when I played the Red Rocks in Denver.
And you got $4,000 returned, right?
I don't know the exact amount.
Well, you were there with the news when you got it.
Right, and the lady at the sheriff's station admitted that the sheriff's was short.
Which
You can
gives
go
him
watch the
license to
19
say
News.
what he said.
You knew when you saw the warrant returned, didn't you, that the amount that they were saying was taken was actually more money than was in that suit pocket?
I didn't warrant.
That's why you brought the news to the sheriff's office when you got the money back, because you knew that they had miscounted the money and the number on the evidence bag was actually more
I didn't know
money.
nothing. The lady at
more-
the sheriff department just volunteered the information. I was sitting there, you know, if she had been, I might not even known I got ripped off. She admitted it live on Channel 19 News that the money wasn't right.
You remember in your deposition when I asked you, why did you bring the news when you picked up the money?
Yeah, I didn't want to get beat up or Epstein at the sheriff's station after I seen them running around my house with AR-15s. So that's why I brought the news and my attorney. So to make sure I got out of that place with my money.
You brought the news to protect you physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't bring the news because you already knew there was a miscount and you were going to make
I didn't know nothing about the
hay out of
discount.
it.
I didn't know. I figured they stole my money. They turned my cameras off. So if you turn my cameras off, you must got something bad in mind. So yeah, I'm accusing them of it. You know, they turned my cameras off. I can't see what they're doing.
So your,
I'm
so your testimony under oath here today to these 10 jurors is that you brought the news when you picked up your money to protect you physically from being beat up or shot by the sheriffs, right?
Yes.
All right.
And they volunteered the information that the money wasn't right. That's just an extra something we found out. But I came with my attorney and the news to make sure the people running around my house with guns didn't take me into jail and do something.
You had a safe in your home, correct?
2 of them.
2 safes. Did the sheriffs look into those safes, to your knowledge?
Yes, they
The
did.
deputies?
Yes.
And how did they get the combination?
I gave it to my ex-wife so the sheriffs wouldn't pull my safe out the floor, take it to the station and put something in it and try to say that whatever they put in my safe was mine. So I went ahead and gave my ex-wife, who I didn't want to give my combination to, it was just safer. I went ahead and gave her my combination so they could open up the safe and realize that they just vandalized somebody that don't even have nothing in the safe.
And do you know what was in those safes?
It was absolutely nothing in the safes.
Don't you keep jewelry in those safes?
No,
Didn't you
because
tell me that in your deposition, that you keep jewelry in those safes?
I do.
Was anything missing from the safes when you got home after the search?
I didn't put nothing in the safes.
Was anything missing from the safes when you got home?
Nothing was in them, so nothing was missing from the safe.
You must have mentioned it in this song. I haven't listened to this song, by the way. Well, I have, but
You talked to
Not
Randy
again,
Walters
to
on the
refresh
phone
my
before
memory.
you got home that evening during the search, or right afterwards, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
He told you that they were taking some money and some vape pens and a small amount of marijuana. He told you that.
Yes, sir.
You knew, didn't you, Mr. Foreman, that there had been an investigation by the Claremont County Sheriff's Office into the discrepancy about the cash that was missing from your home, correct? You knew there was an investigation.
Yeah, I knew the sheriffs was investigating themselves.
Oh, that's how you saw it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you ever ask for a report so you could see how bad this
What do you mean,
investigation
ask for a
of
report?
themselves really was?
Yes, I was trying to get involved any way I can. The investigation was going on without any of my participation.
Did you ask for a copy of the report?
I did. I asked for everything. I was trying to be involved. I didn't.
So you've seen the report?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I just saw it a few minutes ago.
Yeah, your
Well,
own witness.
You had an
literally. Why are
attorney
you asking
when
this
you got the cash returned, correct?
At the station,
Yes.
I had attorney. Yeah, my attorney was present.
Did
when
your
I got my
attorney ask
cash.
for a copy of this report?
It wasn't in it when I got my cash back from the station. It wasn't an investigation until we realized money was missing.
Well, did you contact your attorney and say, hey, get me a copy of that report?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Well, Mr. Klingler wants to talk about his client's attorney-client privilege and maybe waive it. Mr. Foreman does have attorney-client privilege with his attorney at that time. And we are going to assert that privilege because it's a privilege he has of right.
And so far, he hasn't asked anything privileged. So I appreciate the sensitivity, overrule the objection, and we'll pay attention. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Your testimony is you never saw a copy of Detective Robinson's report until today.
Yes, sir.
And that's because you didn't want to see a copy of the
I
investigation.
did want to see. You don't know what I want. I did want to see it.
You did.
I wanted everything that had something to do with my money coming.
And that was 3.5 years ago, correct?
Yes.
And you haven't seen a copy of that report that you wanted to see until this afternoon. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, where you going with this?
I never had my money taken by cops. I didn't know how this go. I don't know about reports. All I know is live on Fox 19 News, the lady admits that her department is short $400 of my money. That's all I know. I don't know how to investigate police officers taking money.
That's all you know, and that's all you know today, isn't it? That's the whole basis of your claim that your money was stolen, is that the amount of money that was in the bags is different from the amount of money that was written on the bag.
Yeah, my whole thing is they never should have raided me in the first place.
That's your whole thing.
That's my whole thing.
That's the point,
That's my whole
isn't
thing.
it?
If they never would have showed up, there would be no songs about them. I wouldn't know who they are. Their faces would not be on my video cameras. None of this, we wouldn't be in this room right now if they hadn't raided my house and didn't press no charges, didn't even know what they was doing. This whole thing is their fault, and they're suing me for their mistake.
And so you don't really care if they stole your money or not. You're just mad
I
about
do
what
care
they
about
did.
if they stole one.
But
Police officers shouldn't be stealing the civilians' money. So I do care. All of it is an outrage. But this whole thing is an outrage.
You have no evidence that they took your money except for the amount on the bag isn't the same as the
How
amount.
about the
got
lady
returned.
admitting that she took?
you answer my-
She admitted that she took my money on live Fox 19 News. Go argue with the film clip. Go
Nobody,
argue with her admitting that she took my money.
nobody admitted that they took your money.
Well, whatever. Go look at her admitting that the bag is
let's-
short
Mr.
because it
Foreman.
stayed open all weekend long or 2 weeks after Brian and Officer Cooley just left it and just mishandled it and didn't do right.
Just so we're honest with the jury here, Mr. Foreman, nobody admitted that they took your money, did they?
They admitted it was short.
Yes. Nobody
So it looked like
admitted
somebody
that they
took-
took your money, correct?
It was short. She admitted. She said that it was short. And usually it's 10, 5, $2 missing. How does $400 even come up missing? Odd.
And it's his opinion, right of opinion, to perceive
You
that as his
posted
money
videos
missing.
about Brian Newland doing hard drugs and snitching on his friend, and you posted those based on rumors, didn't you? We can look at your deposition, but before you argue with me, but isn't that a fact that you made those allegations based on rumors you said you heard?
It's a fact. William Newland is a convicted pedophile, and Brian Newland is his brother. After I zeroed in on Brian, I asked about him. Come to find out, he's a large statutory rapist that has sex with all kind of underage girls. He buys them beers and gets them drunk and all kind. That's probably the reason he had to leave the Adams County Sheriff Department, because he beats up his wife and he messed with underage girls, and he had to get out of town and go get a job in Norwood.
All right. You don't want to answer my question.
I do. Please ask another one.
Well, let me ask this one again so I can get an answer. Do you remember in your deposition when I asked you, you have no reason to think these rumors about Brian Newland are true, do you? And you said, well, it's more entertaining if it's true, and I can make some money. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. That's a however long that deposition was. You can read the deposition and it tells you what I said.
Do we have a copy, another copy of that? Because I'll show it to you, and I can show you my copy. Refresh your recollection.
You're gonna refresh his recollection.
It's,
Trees. You then use the
thank you, Judge. If I can get it working here.
Your Honor, I would object to using the screen to refresh his recollection. That's publishing it to the jury. If he wants to refresh his recollection, he can show him it and then ask him a question, much how we would do in criminal law with a police report. If an officer didn't remember, we wouldn't show the report, we would show it to the officer. He would refresh his memory by reading it, and then we'd re-ask the question.
Do it that way, just make sure you think he reads it right. I'm just trying to get through the verbiage.
If Mr.
Just make sure you think he reads it right, otherwise I have to wrestle with you about whether he read it right.
Sure.
So just read it. And then if we want to move it as an exhibit, you can do that.
Remember your deposition being taken, Mr. Foreman, in your attorney's office on September 3rd, 2024.
I remember the deposition.
And that deposition was taken in DJ Osborne's office?
Yes, sir.
That's the same office that you used to film that video that we saw last night with the actor playing Lieutenant Lisa Phillips. And that actor was sitting in the same chair that Lisa Phillips sat in during her deposition, wasn't she?
Yeah, the actor played Lisa because I wouldn't have known her if she hadn't came to my house and cut off my camera.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's the office we're talking about, and that's the office where I took your deposition, right?
Yes, sir.
And in that deposition, I'm referring to page 84 of the deposition. I had asked you
Your Honor, I
about...
object, he's testifying.
No, he's using the deposition to refresh his memory. He's doing it right, so sit down, please. Go ahead.
Did I ask you this question, and did you give me these answers, Mr. Foreman? Question: would it be fair to say these are rumors? Answer: you know, Stephanie said it, and you know, some other people that don't remember, you know, I'd be in a hurry in Walmart or something, they shake my hand, yeah, Brian used to do this, used to do that. Then something, I didn't know him, but this is what I've heard. Question: you don't have any particular reason to think that it's true or not true, right? Answer: well, it's more entertaining if it is true, and I could probably make some money and capitalize on it if it's true.
What are the line numbers?
Starting with line 7 and ending with line 21. Did I ask you those questions and you give me those answers?
I don't remember. That was a long time ago. But
But that's my question.
I've always
Thank you.
put Brian Newland next to his brother. So that's
Yeah.
my basis, and I've always...
We noticed that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
your
so-
attorney's going to be able to ask you whatever questions he wants. Right now, I'd like you to focus on my questions, Mr. Foreman. You have no evidence that Brian Newland ever molested little boys, do you?
if you look at the picture, he's holding the little boy's butt. It's too much for me. So if you just use your eyeballs, and then his brother's a convicted pedophile.
That's your evidence for posting that
Well,
pedophile stuff
hey,
about little boys.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of guy is kicking on my door. What kind of guy is walking around my house reading my bank statements? It's a dude. It's a dude that's possibly a pedophile, got a convicted pedophile brother, deputized by the sheriff, walking around, possibly stealing my money. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on as I zoom in with my cameras. That's not the type of guy I don't think should be on the police force.
I'm going to refer you again to your deposition. If you don't trust my reading of it, I'm happy to give it to you, Mr. Foreman, but on page 98 of your deposition on that same day, beginning at 9/11, did I ask you this question and did you give me this answer? And again, the only evidence, you don't have any evidence that Brian Newland is a pedophile or plays with little boys. Answer, no, sir. Did I ask you that question? Did you give me that answer?
I don't remember.
Where's the line there?
Beginning with line 11, ending with line 14 on page 98. You have no evidence that Lisa Phillips stole your money, do you?
I know if she hadn't raided my house, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Nor a lawsuit or nothing. They never should have been at my house.
Since you're not going to answer my question, I'm going to go back to your deposition again, Mr. Foreman, page 102.
Your Honor, if I may, can I just enter a continuing objection so I don't have to object every time he does the deposition?
No, it's too important, so please be specific. Thank you.
So I would enter a notation of objection at this point. He is now testifying for the witness. He is no longer refreshing his recollection.
I'll be sensitive to that, so you can rephrase, I'll sustain that. You made the conclusion you didn't have memory, so you've got to go back and fix that.
All right, Judge, I will. Thank you. Do you remember telling me in your deposition, Mr. Foreman, that you don't have any evidence that Lisa Phillips stole your money?
Yeah, she cut off the cameras, but I didn't know who took them. I didn't know who took them. So, all the officers was a suspect at first, because I didn't know where. After the deposition, I realized that Brian Newland was in charge of the money, and I knew where to focus everything. But at first, all the cops was a suspect, especially after they cut off my cameras, and I couldn't see what they were doing.
All right. Well, so you don't remember? Is that what you're telling me?
I remember telling you that Lisa, probably didn't take my money,
Okay.
but I just didn't know. I just knew it was missing, and they cut off my cameras, so all of them were suspects until I figured it out.
So until you figured it out.
Until everybody figured it out, until it was solved of where the missing money was.
All right. So just to clear this up and move on, you admit that you don't have any evidence that Lisa Phillips stole your money?
No. But I know if she wasn't there in the first place, we wouldn't be having this conversation or be here.
And is it true that one of your big motivation, really, in making all of these posts is to make money?
To pay for the damage that they brought to my house under the circumstance that they shouldn't have even been there in the first place.
Okay. So the answer to my question is yes, your motivation was to make money?
To pay for the damages that they brought to my house under the circumstances that they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Have you made enough yet to make up for it?
Not really,
How much have you made on it?
I don't know exactly, but it wasn't hardly $24,000.
$24,000.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that.
You're still making money on today, right, with the new posts and advertisements and things?
It's
you get?
publicity.
You're still selling merchandise, aren't you?
No, publicity. Just me. Just everybody. Thanks to them bringing publicity to this. It's just you know, an opportunity to run numbers up and be an entertainer.
And the more lies, outrageous lies you tell about them, the more money you can make, right?
Yes.
Fact, they never should have came to my house in the first place. Fact, if they hadn't have came to my house, they wouldn't have put themselves on the video camera and in my music career. All of this is their fact. All of this is their fault, and they have the audacity to sue me. These people and you are the predators and the victim at the same time.
So what they did, searching your house, gave you the right to do everything you
Under
did.
the circumstance that I got freedom of speech, after they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so, because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
You were at Lisa Phillips's deposition, correct?
Yes, sir.
In your lawyer's office.
Yes, sir.
Same office where you filmed part of that video last Friday.
Yes, sir.
And you saw how upset she was when she was answering your lawyer's questions about how this had affected her, right?
Yes, yes,
He's
And
ready
you
for
saw
this.
your attorney say, do we need to take a break?
yes,
And you saw her say, no, let's go on and get this over with.
yes, sir.
You saw all that.
Yes.
You knew she was upset.
Just like she knew I was upset when she was standing in front of my kids with an AR-15 with her hand around the trigger ready to shoot me. Just like she knew I was upset when she cut my cameras. But I'm not a person, she is. So I'm sorry for being a victim. Let's talk about the predators.
Okay. So you saw all that. You saw how upset she was. You heard the testimony about her children. You heard the testimony at the depositions about Randy Newland's daughter who came home upset. You heard all that. But you're still posting stuff about
Yeah,
it.
because I understand it was Randy's fault and all of their fault for coming in my house in the first place. So if they hadn't came to my house, their children wouldn't be saying nothing. None of this would be going home if they did their research and did things right. So all of this is their fault. And now they want to sue me for their mistake.
Is there anything that could change your mind about what you're doing to these deputies?
Is there anything that can change my mind about the fact that they shouldn't have been at my house in the first place? Is there anything that can change my mind about how my money shouldn't have been touched in the first place? No.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to continue, I'm sorry, Mr. Osborne, do you want to continue the direct examination of your client now?
Your Honor, I was going to actually ask for a sidebar so we can talk about that.
Okay, so let's just talk about it.
Okay, so I was actually going to not do cross with Mr. Foreman this time. I was going to hold off until our case in chief.
Yeah, I just offered you the chance to do that. So do you want to do your direct examination on your case in chief right now?
Not right now.
Like the pogo stick of witnesses up and down is what I was talking about. If he testifies on his own direct case, it could be now or it could be later. I just gave the lawyer a chance to do it now or later. He said later. So you'll likely see Mr. Foreman again. This was an examination on the plaintiff's case. You get a chance to hear his testimony on his case. There's your explanation. Thanks, Mr. Foreman. You can stand up.
Plaintiffs rest subject to the admission of all our exhibits, Judge.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with the exhibits on a break. What do you have?
I had no one ready. All my people were subpoenaed to be ready tomorrow. I will have to call them to get them here in the morning.
Well, that is the remainder of this day done.
Don't research. Don't think. Don't talk. Ruminate in your own mind, maybe, but it can't be any farther than that. The admonition we talked about previously about deliberating as a group.
Well, that is this particular day done. We're gonna go to day 3, and to be quite fair, like like has been said in the previous streams, like this is the only footage that we have managed to get, and this is the last day of it. Well, that was the only testimony that I could find of Afroman, and I'm not sure if they did another. Well, his case in chief. I'm not sure of the direct examination from his case in chief, but because all we have here is this next witness, and I'm guessing is for Afroman's case in chief. So the channel that was capturing the trial was not able to capture everything. So this is the final piece of testimony that we have left, and then is the closing arguments after this. So let's go into the testimony.
Some of Mr. Foreman's music from time to time.
They do.
You've worked with kids for how long?
30 years.
You've got into the mind of kids pretty well.
Yes.
When they would play Mr. Foreman's song Lemon Pound Cake, did they take that as a literal fact from your observations?
No.
Were they laughing and joking about it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Are you familiar with the song WAP?
I think I've heard
Sorry,
it.
no, strike that. I'm going to give you the complete song
Okay.
and then summarize it because I only want to say it once. Are you familiar with the song Wet Ass Pussy?
Yes,
Oh my God.
Is that a rap song?
it is.
Has your students played it in class?
Once, and I asked them to please turn it off.
When they were listening to it, did they think that was fact?
No,
So they didn't think that that was depicting anything in real life?
no,
So you didn't have to teach them that wasn't real?
right. No, I did not.
You've heard the song, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you believe it's a literal interpretation?
No,
Would you agree it's derogatory towards women?
no,
Even though it says nasty things about them?
yeah, no. I mean, it's the artist's opinion, I guess. That's the way I feel.
Maybe not an opinion you like, but
Yeah.
For for those wondering, this is Rhonda Grooms and is the defense witness, which is Afroman's
Your
witness
Honor,
and
I
case
have
in chief.
Go ahead.
So, Ms. Grooms, has Mr. Foreman's posts about Sean or any of the general posts about the Adams County Sheriff's Department as a whole affected your life any at all?
No,
Would you believe it would have affected your life while you were married to Sean?
if it had any effect, I guess that would be the time it would have an effect.
But as his spouse, you would have expected it.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't want you to go into too many details, but is it fair to say that Mr. Foreman, the posts about the police department, everything had not a damn thing to do with your relationship between you and Sean and why it came to an end?
No, it did not.
So the posts never affected your life, never affected your marriage?
No.
Okay. So any statement to the contrary would be false?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Thank you.
Morning, Ms. Grooms.
Good morning.
I'm sorry you have to be here.
I am too.
Thanks for coming. Where to start? You never sought a protective order against your ex-husband, did you?
Yes, I did when we divorced. The divorce, yes. I
Did
had a
you-
restraining order.
Did you got a restraining order?
Yes, I did.
Were you aware of the posts that were coming out after 2022 about the sheriff's deputies and calling them thieves and that sort of thing? Did you ever see any or hear any of the songs?
Some of my students referred to it when they would say, I saw your husband in the video. And I would say, yeah, that was him, and turn around and walk away. I didn't elaborate on any of that, no. And
Why?
they didn't either,
Why didn't you elaborate on it?
because I didn't think it was the student's business.
Okay, so they had seen your husband in videos,
Yes,
and did you tell your husband about that?
about,
That your kids had mentioned it?
no, it was just a mention and that was it.
Okay. Yourselves or videos yourself, or did you just hear about it from kids?
I saw part of it and then I heard about it.
Okay. And did anyone else in the community ever say anything to you about these videos or posts?
No.
Just your kids?
Just my students in the school.
Students? Okay. The song that Mr. Osborne asked you about, does that song refer to a specific identifiable person?
I don't think so.
Those are all my questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Rhonda, Mr. Klingler asked you about your students. Your students saw the posts
Yes,
and they articulated it to you?
yeah, just say, hey, I saw your husband in this video.
Students can, would it be a fair statement to say children can be mean? Cruel?
Absolutely,
You've seen instances of them being cruel?
absolutely.
Are they cruel to both other students and teachers?
Yes,
I don't like bringing up sensitive subjects, but has any of your students ever been cruel to you in the past?
oh, yes, definitely.
She has more balls than.
Would it be fair to say they've said some pretty mean things?
Yes,
You see, I'm trying not to ask you what they are, but are they shocking names?
coming from my students, I mean, in all honesty, it's, when they're mad at me because they didn't receive an A, yeah, they get mad.
And they
And-
lash out.
Yes,
But they're not calling names a fact or anything to you.
no,
And they've seen these posts.
yes,
Did your students treat you any differently?
no,
So could you point to any instance where a student treated you differently due to the posts?
no.
I'm gonna ask this question. You said you're sorry to be here. Why are you sorry to be here?
Because from my recollection, my ex-husband had said that this was part of the reason we got divorced.
No further questions, John.
Klingler? No further questions. Mr. Osborne, am I right to understand this witness was a lay witness?
Pardon?
This was a lay witness, not an expert, right?
She's a lay witness to testify to what she would have experienced in this.
Right. And the only reason I did that is to explain to the jury that people sometimes have training experience and can make opinions as experts. If a doctor comes in a medical malpractice case, they're an expert. This is a lay person, the same as any other. Some of the questions spoke generally about society and public perception, which would seem like more of an expert opinion, when in fact, as a lay witness, she can only testify about what she experienced herself. So you have to understand the scope. She's just what happened to her, lay, average person, not educated expert. Thanks for being here. You can
Thank
be
you.
excused. Go ahead, Mr. Osborne.
Your Honor, I'd ask for a short 10-minute break so I can talk with Mr. Foreman. Based upon the ruling in the Rule 50, I want to juggle some of my witnesses, make some corrections to that, as I had anticipated a different verdict due to the evidence, or different ruling due to the evidence, so I'm going to need to shift for that. I'd like 10 minutes to consult with my client to strategize on that.
Comments, Mr. Klingler?
No, I have no objection to that, Judge.
If you're doing well managing your time, I think that's a good idea. I would like to know how I am with getting the jury on schedule.
Your Honor, that's why I want to strategize, see how we can hopefully.
Yeah, well, I appreciate what you're saying. Take a break, go back to the jury room, stay there if you would please. Short break will be helpful.
All right, so let's go into the closing arguments because I think that's them done with the witnesses. I don't think there's any witness stepping up to the plate, so. Oh, that's up, miss? No? No, there's no new witness. So let's just go straight into the closing arguments and hear
By
what
a
they have
vote
to
of 3-0,
say.
the lawyers all being unanimous, they want to see like this last draft of instructions because often they,
Yeah, let's
the
go.
jury
into-
instructions.
yeah, they're talking about jury instructions. Yeah, let's go into the closing arguments.
Are the textbook at the end. So the lawyers had a chance to drill this down. As I said before, closing arguments are the attorney's argument about what they think the evidence means and how you should do whatever it is they think you should do. So they go first, Mr. Klingler, then Mr. Osborne, then Mr. Klingler. There's like a total of 35 minutes. So I'm going to think 20, 35, 15. But Mr. Klingler can kind of manipulate his time depending on how he wants to do it. So in an hour, you'll be talking to me for about 30 minutes of instructions before you start your deliberations. That's what's ahead of you. If you take notes, just write down argument, not evidence. Go ahead, Mr. Klingler.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, folks. When this trial started, I told you it was about intentional lies that are designed to hurt people. It's not about freedom of speech. It's about defamation. It's about false light defamation, intentional lies designed to hurt people. You've heard all the evidence. You've seen the witnesses. I'm not going to go over it. But I will say a few things to underscore what I think is most important for you to keep in mind as this case is turned over to you, from me, from the plaintiffs, to you. Mr. Foreman perpetuated lies intentionally, repeatedly, over 3.5 years on the internet about these 7 brave deputy sheriffs who've lived in this county for years, risked their lives for this county for years, done their job, been in the community for many, many years. Mr. Foreman did it intentionally. Mr. Foreman knew that what he posted on the internet were lies. He knew there was no theft. He knew there was no sex with Randy Walters' wife. And he certainly knew all of the stuff he's repeatedly posted about Lisa Phillips up until Friday and probably later were lies too.
What are we going to do about that?
Nothing.
Mr. Foreman told you from the witness stand, there's nothing we can do to stop him because he has freedom of speech to lie about people intentionally. During jury selection, we talked about that. And you all agreed that it's not okay to tell an intentional lie about someone that hurts them. We all agreed. And the judge is going to tell you that in the law that he gives you. So Mr. Foreman is legally wrong when he says he has free speech to tell harmful lies about people and get away with it. That's just legally wrong.
What about harmful truths?
You also told me in jury selection that even if somebody does something to you that hurts you, that you think is wrong, like a search warrant execution that you think was unfair, even if somebody does that to you, you told me, we all agreed, that that doesn't justify telling intentional lies designed to hurt people. That's what you think. That's what the community thinks. That's what decent people think. But Mr. Foreman thinks it's okay to do what he's done over 3.5 years because they executed a search warrant that broke down his door and disconnected his cameras. You heard from the witness stand from Mr. Foreman the callous indifference that he showed to what he's done, the harm he's done. It's imprinted in your minds, I'm sure, like it is in mine, the tears, the agony from some of these witnesses. Don't forget that when you're back in the jury room. That's what this case is about. You are here because you agreed to be here. You showed up on the first day. Not everybody does. A lot of people don't respond to their summons. You did. I asked you, do you want to be on this jury? And you all said, yes, I agreed to be on this jury. You're all here now, in this place, in this courtroom, for a reason. And I believe there's a power higher than us that brought you here today to do this job, and that you are the chosen people to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. There's not going to be another trial. There's not going to be a second chance. This is the day to decide whether Mr. Foreman gets away with what he's done and whether these plaintiffs deserve something to make up for what they've been through, and whether the community is told that what he did is unacceptable. It's not okay. We talked about different kinds of damages. There's not going to be economic damages in this case. There's no doctor bills. There's no damaged property. There's damage to reputation. There's pain and suffering. There's public humiliation. There's everything you saw and heard from these detectives from the witness stand. And the only thing you can do as a jury to decide this case is to render a verdict of money that somehow stands in, somehow represents the harm that these deputy sheriffs have been put through over 3.5 years. That's all you can do. You can't issue an order that says stop. You can't issue an order that says, say you're sorry. All you can do is issue a verdict for an amount that fairly stands in, represents what they've been through, what they've lost. No one else is going to do it. The judge isn't going to do it. Court of Appeals isn't going to do it. It's your job. And you're the people meant to do it. Now, I told you in jury selection, if we got to this point, I'd try to give you some ideas about how to evaluate what kind of verdict might make sense in this case. I told you then, and I'll tell you now, there's no formula. There's no easy answer, but there is an answer. And it's the answer that you folks decide among yourselves fairly represents the injuries that these deputies have suffered. And I'll start by posing this question. Do you think that if there had been an advertisement in some newspaper that said, we will give you $2 million if you are willing to go through what Lisa Phillips has been through for the last 3.5 years? Would you take that deal? Do you think she would have taken that deal? Yeah, $2 million, that's a, maybe I'll go through that. Of course not. Do you think Randy Walters, do you think Brian Newland, do you think any of these deputies would have accepted some amount of money in order to go through, in exchange for going through what they've been through? I don't think so. And I think you know nothing is worth going through what they've been through. And of course, he says he's not going to stop. He says nothing can stop him. Maybe something can stop him if you tell him through your verdict that he needs to stop.
And they said no.
I'm going to tell you what I believe is a fair verdict for these plaintiffs. And it's up to you, of course, again, to make the decision. But I would ask you, I'm going to ask you, and there's a verdict form which, excuse me 1 minute.
folks, I'm going to show you these forms that you're going to be filling out, just so you're familiar with them. This is just an example. You're going to have a different form for each of these plaintiffs, okay? This one happens to be a verdict form for Lisa Phillips. And I believe the evidence is overwhelming that you'll find in favor of Lisa Phillips. This happens to be her false light claim. There's a separate claim for defamation, a separate form for defamation, and you'll see the jury instructions. Judge Heinz has already talked some about that with you. So this is just an example of the verdict form that I'm going to ask you all to sign in favor of Lisa Phillips and all of the plaintiffs on their false light and their defamation claims. Now, there's another form called an interrogatory, and I'm just showing you Lisa Phillips's form. And it says, we, the jury, find damages for plaintiff as follows. And then it gives a little description of the kind of damages. And there's a line for your decision, and there's signature lines for each of you to sign. For Lisa Phillips, I'm not going to show you every form. For Lisa Phillips, folks, I'm asking you to put $1.5 million in that verdict form. $1.5 million for Lisa Phillips from what she's been through
This guy's begging too
for
much.
3.5 years.
He's begging too much.
Maybe going through for who knows how long. For Brian Newland, I'm asking you to issue a verdict for $1 million for what he's been through with his family, the loss of his dream job here in Adams County. For Randy Walters, I'm asking you for a verdict of $1 million for what he's been through with the allegations and vile videos
They actually
about his
thought
wife.
they were going to win this.
For the other 4 plaintiffs, Sean Grooms, Sean Cooley, Justin Cooley, and Mike Estep, I'm asking you for a total, for all 4 of them, of $400,000 divided among them however you see fit based on their testimony. You, of course, can award less. You can issue a verdict for more. That's what I'm asking you to say in your verdict form based on this testimony. Now, let me close my remarks by looking into the future here and looking at the future if there's a verdict for the plaintiffs and you award the plaintiffs a fair amount of money. What happens? The plaintiffs are vindicated. The court of public opinion out there, the press, which I know you haven't been looking at, they don't know the facts. You know the facts. And a verdict for the plaintiff will say they were wronged, he was wrong. A verdict for the plaintiffs will make up in some way for what they've been through. A verdict for the plaintiffs will say that we don't condone, we don't approve, you can't get away with what Mr. Foreman's done. Not in this community, not in this country. That's not freedom of speech where we live. That's what a verdict for the plaintiffs will say. Let's look at another possible future if there were to be a verdict for the defendant, or if there were to be a verdict with a small amount of money attached to it. In that case, in that world, in that future, the world is told what he did is okay. What they went through is no big deal. We don't really care. We think it's fine. That's what a verdict for the defendant or a small verdict would say. They would go home subject to even more ridicule. Yeah, you took him on and you lost. See, what he did was fine. I don't have to tell you, you know, that's not the message we want to send. It's not the message you want to send. Folks, I'm done. I've done all I can. These folks called me 3 years ago now
And I've regretted
and asked,
him since.
what can we do to stop this? And here we are today. I've done what I can. They've done what they can. They've suffered through the publicity. They could have stopped this case at any time if they would have kowtowed to the pressure, public humiliation that Mr. Foreman continued to put them through, but they didn't. They bravely stood behind their case and their right not to be drugged through the mud with lies in the media. They've done all they can. And now I am giving their case and this decision to you. It's out of my hands. You have to decide what to say to Mr. Foreman and what to say to the community about what he's done and the effects that it's had on these folks. I have full confidence, I fully trust you to make the right decision, to make a fair decision, and to come back with a verdict that's fair for each one of these plaintiffs and that tells the community what you really think about this case. Thank you very much.
Personally, I think the plaintiffs may have had a much easier time with this case if they had maybe gone for 10K compensatory damages. Compensatory. I think so. I say it. If they have gone for something of that amount, not in the millions, just maybe a symbolic kind of damages to say he cannot do this.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe they might have gone
for being
further
here.
with that, millions
This has
just
been a
seem like a lot
Long 3 days.
to ask for
It took
a
a second for me to
jury
even count the number. It's been
with
so
a
long.
defendant like
A lot's
him.
happened. You've done your duty as jurors. You've paid attention to the evidence. I'm proud of that. What makes our country great is you have the right to have a jury trial. You have the right to people in the community to see this, weigh the evidence, and make a decision. And I'm proud that you guys are here and doing that. We started this time, I talked about this case was about freedom of speech. But let's talk about what it's also about. It's also about music. Not all music is tasteful. Not everybody likes all music. There's some songs I hate. I think we can find plenty of people that find songs they do not like. But Mr. Foreman, Joe is a rapper and comedian. It's what he's done his whole life is rap, make songs. We got to think of what rap is, because music does not exist in a vacuum. Music evolves over time. Take a look at jazz. It's evolved. At one time, it was distinct in a certain subculture, and it has now expanded. Rap is the same. Rap started out as a means for people to express social commentary, opinions through entertainment. Look at the song by NWA.
Fight the
What are they called? Fuck the Police. I think I said that right. It's a social commentary on what was going on in their lives. Their personal effect, the personal things happening to them, combined with entertainment, which unfortunately is exaggeration. Opinion, nothing of fact in that song. It's a commentary on society. And so when you look at rap, you see that over and over again. I had my secretary print me a couple songs, rap songs, while I was pouring a cup of coffee. And the first one was Carly B, WAP. I find it bad to say what WAP means, but it's a popular song. I think it's somewhat derogatory, but then again, I'm not the audience for that song, and I know that. I know nothing in that song. Nothing talking about is true. I know it's entertainment. I know it's social commentary.
You don't think Cardi B has wet
Miss
eyes?
Grooms testified even her students knew that at a young age. The same thing I knew when I was watching Johnny Carson, The Late Night Show, and SNL, Saturday Night Live, with my grandfather when I was a kid. That's all entertainment. They make fun of everybody for entertainment. And some of it is a social commentary. But it is not fact. And everybody knows that. Nobody looks at Lil Wayne's song Pussy Monster and says there's a monster in that song. Everybody knows it's exaggeration for entertainment. Is he commenting on something? Sure. But it's not fact. And I can keep going. Megan Thee Stallion with sex talk. I mean, it just goes on. They use derogatory language. It's designed to entertain. Drew Hastings, former mayor of Hillsborough, was a comedian. I got to go to one of his stand-ups. Some of it was funny, some of it wasn't. Some of his jokes, like those of Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, some of them are not tasteful, but they're still jokes. They're not facts. And we know that. That's what a reasonable person listening to that would understand. And that's the point. This is not a vacuum. We don't live in a vacuum. Let's face it, if we lived in a vacuum, we'd all be dead because we couldn't breathe. So we live in a world full of everything, where we see things. We watch SNL. We know it's entertainment. We know it's going to pick on people. We understand that they're picking on public officials. Hell, they picked on Joe. They pick on Donald Trump all the time, Sleepy Joe. I mean, go down the list, even Teflon Ron was made fun of. So as you go back, nobody thinks that's fact. Nobody's going to take it that way. When they post their clips on YouTube, when they post their clips on Facebook, people don't look at it and go, that's the truth. No, They understand it's comedy. They understand they're going to talk about it going forward. And if you look at his posts, you see the little signs of that too. Iteration. Things that you see in a song. I mean, because after all, you know, a song's catchy, right? It has beat, song, you know, words rhyme. You know, she thinks my tractor's sexy, and, you know, sticks with you. When we listen to Lemon Pound Cake, you heard the iteration. You heard how it came together as entertainment. So we don't exist in a vacuum, and a reasonable person doesn't exist in a vacuum. As the judge said, you are a reasonable people. You get to decide what's reasonable, which means you get to use your experience. You get to use your understanding of what those are, of your understanding of Joe, of your understanding of rap music, music in general. I'm not going to sit here and say that these 7 people were happy about what happened to them. I'm not going to say that. That'd be stupid. But what I am going to say is they are public officials. We see it on the news all the time, public officials made fun of. Let's go back to voir dire. During my voir dire, we talked about, with the one juror that's gone, we talked about that, yes, I ran for public office. She agreed I put myself out as a public official. She agreed that it was an opinion when someone called me a baby killer. Even our witnesses on the stand, I asked that question. They said a crooked defense attorney is not a vine, it's a matter of opinion. Crooked cops, dirty defense attorneys. Oh, wait, one witness did want to say I might not have taken a shower. But those are all opinions, exaggerations, not statements of fact. And we know that. And that's why public officials are held to a higher standard, because that standard is what is expected of them as subjecting themselves to public scrutiny. They all testified that people have criticized their work. I mean, after all, we look at the search. There is, even Mr. Newland admitted it wasn't perfect. I think we can see from how the money was handled, the investigation. I would have liked to have seen a more thorough job myself. I mean, we have a chain of custody, the money that just leaves it laying there. Mr. Newland didn't know that. We have an unsealed evidence bag. We have 10% of all evidence, money evidence in the Adams County evidence locker miscounted. And then keep in mind that that miscount on those is less than what is alleged to miss here. We got people saying we had a miscount, yet they can't even bother to notify the court in an official document that they made a mistake. Just let it ride. As far as the public record knows, which they never corrected, Mr. Foreman never got back all of his money. They want to talk about an investigation, but they can't even put in a single piece of paper to correct his mistake. I don't know if I'd call that lazy or what. But I think it goes to what you consider a fact. Because what is a fact? We can't always know what a fact is. A fact is something you can disprove, right? But can we truly disprove that? Looking at all the evidence, there is questions. If there's questions, it's not a fact. Now, people will form opinions based on that. I formed an opinion. I imagine everybody here's formed an opinion. We know that they formed an opinion because they didn't like being called a thief. So that was their opinion. But people are allowed to have opinions. People are allowed to express them. What people are expressing when they call them a thief is not a literal statement. It is not a fact. It is a social commentary on the fact that they didn't do things correctly. And they can't even articulate how they could fix it. That is a social commentary if I ever heard one. They don't like it? That's not their choice to like it or not. They're public officials. They're going to be held to a higher standard. Their work's going to be criticized. I mean, that's just what happens when you're a public official. No reasonable person would expect a police officer not to be criticized. They've all been called names before. Has it affected them personally? Yes. Miss Grooms testified it made no difference in her life. Her kids didn't take it seriously. And she's taught for damn near 30 years. But they seem to take it seriously. And I come back to Mr. Grooms. He's worried about going out on a call and being shot. Now, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but if I'm going out on a call, I'm worried about getting shot, I'm going to call my wife and tell her to be safe, not sit here and go, I'm worried about me. That's not what you do. You take care of your family. Mr. Walters wanted to point that out. That just goes to show us he didn't take it seriously. Now, I'm not going to say they're not afraid. Anytime they go on a call, the highway patrol will tell you scariest thing's a traffic stop. You know nothing about the person, you're there by yourself, and things can change in an instant. Is that scary? Fuck yeah. I'd be scared. But if you're truly scared, you take the steps for it. You start having your family do stuff. You start doing that. If you believe what you're saying, you take the steps towards it. You didn't take the steps. No one else talked about how they took the steps either, did they? And why does that matter? Because a reasonable person is going to look at that. After all, let's go back to me not taking a shower. How would you know I didn't take a shower? Hair clumpy, probably matted, probably got dirt all over me. That's how you would see. That's how you would prove if that's an opinion or fact. Now, even then you might say Dave just fell in the mud. But no reasonable person would take it in the vacuum. And I want you to think about everything in context. What rap is music, how it's entertainment, how the language works on it, how jokes are made. I want you to think back to that, because that colors how you see it. I love picking on Joe. He's a good sport for it. Look at that suit. Does this look like a man who thinks that everybody's going to assume that everything he's saying is fact? I mean, he's like a comedian. He exaggerates for the sake of entertainment. That's who he is. I'm not going to say it's tasteful to everyone, but some people do find it entertaining. I asked an important question about them. I said, do you believe everything in the newspaper? No. Do you believe everything you read on the internet? No. We all know that to be true. A reasonable person knows that. People can post opinions, social commentary, and hurtful things all over the internet. And it is just to be expected. That's why we are supposed to use our own filter, use our common sense, use our experiences in life. So while hurtful, it was not fact. It was music, entertainment. Stuff that no reasonable person would understand. Especially not a public official, because we see it on TV all the time. We see it on the internet. You see it on Facebook. Sometimes people want to turn off Facebook because there's so much political commentary and stuff. But that's expected. Do I expect everything I read's fact? I don't even think most of it's fact. I think it's everybody's opinion, and opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one and it stinks. But that doesn't mean they can't have them. That doesn't mean they can't express them, and that doesn't mean they can't make a song about it. Truth is a defense. That's why we talked about the theft. That's why we showed all that. Because I wanted you to see how the money was handled. There's a lot of confusion around it. And for that reason. Before I get to another point, I want to address something that's bouncing around my head. Bob says, what does this message send if you find for Mr. Foreman? I rephrase that question a little differently. What does this message send if we find that music and social commentary, while maybe not the most tasteful thing in the world, is silenced because a public official, while hurt by it, yes, unhappy by it, yes, pissed off, yes, emotional, yes. What opinion does that sound? I mean, if you can sue people, music artists, comedians, to shut them down, that's what we're looking at here. I'm sorry they feel the way they do. But there's a certain amount that you have to take as a public official. It's part of the duties as a job. As we talked about during voir dire, as I've talked about them being called a baby killer, there's certain things you take and you move on. It's part of the job. plaintiffs, or I should say Bob talks about how they wanted it to stop. Where was the certified cease and desist letter? Where was all this done? None of that was done until after they started the lawsuit. Until after they brought it to court to make it stop. That's what they wanted to make it stop. Yet they asked for money. The commentary on them is nebulous at best. You can see that when you look at it. We have Beetle Bailey, Gomer Pyle, Colonel King Kong Bundy. Some of these names are not as bad as others, yes, but they're all for artistic purpose. They're all for jokes. They're all for entertainment. This is not to paint them in a real light. No reasonable person would think that. It's kind of interesting because even Mr. Newman agreed that when he was called a pedophile by Mr. Foreman, yes, that is a horrible thing to call a person. But even he said it was Mr. Foreman's opinion. So he didn't believe it was a fact. If your own witness doesn't believe it's a fact, how can a reasonable person find it's a fact? Bob went to great lengths to say nothing will stop him. Shows us where we're at. We gotta stop his expression. We gotta stop entertainment. We gotta stop exaggeration. That's what Bob's talking about. What chilling effect does that have on the world we live in? Think about it. You don't like what a commissioner does. You don't like what our prosecutor does. You don't like what any public official does, and you make a joke. And you're drugging the court. It may not have been a tasteful joke. May have been a bad joke. May have been the greatest joke ever. But what we're saying is if they don't like it, we're back here. What does that say to you? Freedom of speech. What does that say to the world we live in? That's what this case is about. And Bob knows that. That's why he mentions it. That's why when you look at defamation and the jury instructions, you'll see that the first element of it is a statement. Portrayal of fact. Has to be portrayed as fact. No music video portrays as a fact. I don't watch Fuck Those Police and turn around and say, you know what, that's a fact. No. I say that's a song, it's entertainment, and move on. Sometimes I try to figure out what the words mean, you know, what kind of they're getting at, but I don't expect them to present a fact. Fourth element is the proximate cause. It's an interesting question there, because you'll get the definition of causation in proximate. And we never talked about that really during the trial, and it's going to be something that I want to discuss. They talked about getting phone calls. None of those posts, Joe never said, call them and tell them this. Mr. Cooley testified that they mailed pound cakes to the office. Joe never said send them a lemon pound cake. These are things that other people have done. Joe never directed them to do it. He didn't cause it. He made a joke. He cannot control how people take it. What they do, he's not that. All he can do is make a joke, make a song. So that's something to consider. Was he the proximate cause, or was it someone else? I want you to understand when they get to the question of malice, if you get that far, it has to be actual malice. Public officials, it's a higher standard. Why? Because we hold public officials to a high standard. Let's talk about the false light. That's their second cause of action. That says that a reasonable person would be justified in the eyes of the community, feeling seriously offended and aggrieved. I want you to go in on the eyes of the community. They want to say people's humiliating them, calling them names. The reality is a reasonable person in the eyes of the community is going to say, it's a song. It's a joke. I was flabbergasted to hear it myself, that they even thought it was a joke before they brought the lawsuit. Go to a Halloween party and bring a lemon pound cake. That, I almost have no words for that, honestly, because I get, we're hurt, but it's a joke. Which one is it? So a reasonable person in the eyes of the community would understand it's a joke. Mr. Estep testified about the joke of the shirt. We got the pound cake joke. There's various jokes for this. This was not as negative. This has not changed their view in the eyes of the community, because your reputation, which is what they claim is hurt, your reputation is like a shirt. You eat a hot dog, you drop mustard on it, you get stains on your shirt. Nobody's reputation is clean. Everything you do affects your reputation. The way you perform your job affects your reputation. They all admitted to that on the stand because I asked that question. They all said it does. How they counted that money affects their reputation. People can form opinions based on how they did their job and criticize them on it. That's a right we have. You have to forgive me, I have to flip through these some. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare as things change on the fly. I think as you go back and deliberate, take a look at all the exhibits, analyze it in the context of music, entertainment, opinion, social commentary. It's not a fact. And if you look at it, you can see that. Like I said, it may not be tasteful, may not be nice, but even SNL's not nice. South Park's not nice. These things are social commentaries, jokes, entertainment, and some of them are not nice. But you don't have to like everything. You don't have to like everything said about you, and you don't have the right to tell everybody that everything said about you should be sued for, especially if you're a public official. As such, I ask you to deliver a verdict in Joe's favor on all claims. I ask that because when you look at it, no reasonable person could see it as a fact. No reasonable person could see it as even false light. The community, if people called them, that's because the social commentary resonated with someone, resonated with what people experienced in the world. We've lived through a turbulent year, so we've all seen on the news what people are experiencing all over the country. Social commentary resonates because of that. That doesn't make him the proximate cause. That shows a deeper concern in our country that we should be addressing, not sitting here trying to decide if a music video is a fact or not. That's what's at issue here. And I'm confident as you go back in deliberations, you'll come to that conclusion too. And with that, I thank you again for your service, because it is not easy, and what you're about to do is not easy. It takes time and deliberation. It takes hard work. And I appreciate that you guys are willing to do it. And I reiterate again, that's what makes us a great country. Thank you very much.
Mr. Osborne? Go ahead, Mr. Clinton.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That was a good closing. I don't think they can match it though.
Nothing Mr. Osborne said about sexually explicit songs out in society refer to specific people in the community, like the songs that are at issue here. It's not the same thing. We all know that. These weren't opinions. Mr. Foreman didn't say, in my opinion, Brian Newland is a pedophile. In my opinion, they're all thieves. In my opinion, I fucked his wife doggy style. He said it like they were facts. And I think Judge Heinz is going to instruct you, based on everything that's happened so far, that these were not opinions, they were stated as fact. And your job is to decide whether those facts were true or not. And we know they're not. The case isn't about lemon pound cake. It's about intentional lies designed to hurt people, and they hurt people. If somebody in the jury room says, well, what about his First Amendment rights? You know, and the law tells you, that doesn't allow lies that hurt people. If someone tells you it's just artistic expression, he ought to be free to say what he wants, the answer is he's not allowed to wrap up harmful lies into songs, so-called art, put them out there, and get away with it. The packaging of the lie doesn't make it okay. The message was clear. And Mr. Foreman doesn't get to wrap himself in the American flag and say, you can't touch me, I can say what I want, no matter how untrue it is, no matter how much pain it causes people, no matter for how long, because I have freedom of speech. He can't do that. I'm confident you'll tell him he can't do that. Thank you.
Well, after that closing, I think that's pretty much the case.
We acknowledge the
And
Mr.
we all know that at that point they went off into. Let me hear this argument before we
I was
go.
going to ask before we read the jury instructions if I could if we could have a restroom break for that, because I know it's going to take some time.
Okay, cool. You're just talking about jury instructions. Right. A couple of things. I look at this trial and I always compare it to the other trials I have looked at, especially in a civil context. Not that many, to be quite fair, because to be honest, civil trials do not happen quite often, especially defamation at that. So I don't have much to go on except for case law, as well as the Debbie Heard trial and a couple of other trials that I've covered. And the one thing that stuck out to me in all of this is just, well, it's just the lack of, well, this case cannot even reach the standard of actual malice, because end of the day, when you evaluate what's actually going on, and when you look at the pure fact of knowingly knowing that these were all false, the minute that they called up one of their witnesses, the money counter guy, I forgot his name, the minute he went on to basically testify in regards to the fact that there were some discrepancies and money was missing, that alone, especially in the role of a public official, that alone is enough to say that this is just not based in fact. If he goes on to make a song and says that they stole my money, that's just a statement that could be made purely based on the role that you have, based on the weight of the role that you have, the weight that carries. No one is gonna believe that a police officer is absolved from any criticism just because money has been missing. Like, they are going to get criticized. That is their job. As he has made clear there. So that definitely was ringing through my mind all through as I was listening to these final days of trial. On top of that, I still can't believe that this case even exists, in the sense that a lot of it was just her feelings. A lot of it was just because they went ahead and felt that none of this should be happening to them because it's harmful to their feelings. No one is gonna take that seriously at all. Absolutely not. So all through this is I'm still surprised to today how this made it through motion to dismiss, and it wasn't dismissed, and it was deemed as enough to go to trial. I'm very surprised. I thought that along the way, maybe looking back now, maybe the pedophile comments that was made about the brother, maybe that's why it survived. But even then, that was about the brother and not him. Maybe the association to try and associate the brother maybe gave rise to say, okay, cool, that this claim can survive for that particular reason, because maybe that's why. And I'm still stuck, because at that point you might as well not strike out these other claims and just let that one survive, because that's the only one that I think has a bit of merit. Like, you can't just claim association, like criminal acts, just because their brother was a convicted pedophile. That's the only part that I thought, okay, cool, maybe they do have something here because that is actionable. Because to me, defamation has always been something that, at least from what I understand it to mean, something that causes actual real damage to your reputation, not because you are not in agreement with what has been said, because end of the day, people are going to laugh at you or they're going to criticize you. But if someone calls you, like for example, a rapist, that is going to cause a real serious harm. That is going to, if someone calls you a murderer and you know that you're not, if someone calls you those are going to have lasting effects. Not this girl gives a blowjob to every, like, I don't know. Maybe if Afroman has said that Likimlo Lisa was spreading venereal diseases, maybe that would have done it. I was thoroughly disappointed watching through all of this, because it just seemed so, I wouldn't even call it opportunistic. I don't know what to classify this as, but it just seemed like a real governmental overreach, as something that they know that they can do, so they done it thinking that they will prevail, which is why I'm surprised. Like, they actually thought that this would actually prevail. But nonetheless, that's all I have time for. That's all we have time for here. Make sure that you go ahead onto the Catch a Call website and check out the trial reports that we do have for the cases that we do cover. On there, catchacall.info. And also, most importantly, tonight is another show that we have coming up, and that is Source and Order, where we are going through the criminal trial of Letitia Stork, who has received a brand new trial. We're going to go through the first trial and go through the trial analysis there, the trial logic. It won't be as elongated as this one. That one is more of an highlight reel, going through the key moments of the trial, of the first trial, to try and see how the jury may have arrived at this particular verdict. So yeah, so make sure you tune in tonight for Source on Order at 4 p.m. Eastern Time or 9 p.m. UK time. So yeah, without further, I'll just leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and we'll be back tonight for ketchup call will be open again. We'll be going through these crazy cases. And believe me, Let's Just Stalk is another crazy case that if you haven't seen, then join us, and because I'm going through it with fresh eyes. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take good care of yourself. Bye for now. Thank you everyone for tuning in for another Catch Up Call live stream. Make sure